I didn't want to go out to the bar by myself and be Joe Whiskey Breath there. That's no fun. So I'm like, what am I going to do? So I started going online.
Did you push record?
Thanks for tuning in again to Our Second Act with Paige and Silka. Today, our conversation continues with Robert Manni, the radio host, blogger, and author of The Guy's Guide to Love. I'm getting better with every introduction, Robert.
Thank you. Great to be here.
No, glad. Thank you for staying over. And we will, of course, link to Robert's book, which has been dubbed the, not sequel, but the, what's the word?
Male successor to
Thank
Sex.
you, male successor to Sex and the City. And I'm very much looking forward to reading it. And today, we want to really focus on sort of what that book started for you and why I have you on the show, which is to talk about, at this stage in life, dating and finding love again.
Right. It's interesting. I was single for so long that I'd go home on Thanksgiving and nobody would ask me, "Hey, when are you getting married?" It was a foregone conclusion it wasn't going to happen. Yet it did. So you have to be positive. But I noticed all my friends. It was Saturday night. Like if I didn't have a date, all my friends were married up or had moved away. So I'm like, I didn't want to go out to the bar by myself and be Joe Whiskey Breath there. That's no fun. So I'm like, what am I going to do? So I started going online. And one of the benefits is that you can sit at home in your tidy whities and meet some really happening, great, cool women. And then you have to meet them, of course, face to face and exchange the energy there because that's where real connections are made offline, not online. But over time, I learned just put yourself out there, be a gentleman, be authentic, and women will welcome you because I didn't realize how much bad behavior there is on the part of men towards women, and it's really disappointing to me. But I figured, well, if I continue to be who I am, be a good guy about things as much as I can, I should be able to have a pretty good social life.
Yeah.
And it worked out.
Well, what are the big challenges at this stage, Robert? Here you have a guy over 50, and we talked about, like, with women, it's loss of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
I think men, this is me talking, that's why I'm asking you, is it loss of confidence for men as well? Or is it just, bitterness and anger that they bring to the table?
Well, every situation is different. It could be loneliness. If somebody was married for a long time and then they've got blindsided because, men have a problem with paying attention. And women are very good at paying attention. In fact, I went out with the woman who is my wife 3 times, and I said, I've had a lot of different relationships, and they've been good, but not great. What do I have to do to be a good boyfriend? And she said, pay attention. I'm like, is that it? She goes, yes. And I'm like, wow, I wish I would have known that 30 years earlier or 20 years earlier. But guys have trouble with that. So a lot of times they get dumped by women and marriages end and relationships end and they're by themselves and they don't know what to do. And their friends are off, married and busy. And that's like, it's like you have to reinvent yourself in a way and get yourself out there. So that's one thing. And that can cause, you can either say, this is an opportunity. What are the lessons I've learned? Or you could say, I'm pissed off and women are bad and I'm going to take out my frustrations on them because of how I've been treated in the past. Now, obviously, I don't recommend the latter. I recommend being open-minded and say, this is an opportunity. So I think perspective is the most important thing for guys to have. And I think the challenges they have is, you have to do it on your own. Nobody's going to help you. You might have some female friends or some guy friends try to introduce you to people, but really, how often does that work out? Because what they think is going to be a good match, is it usually a good match? Probably not, even though it's well intended. We have to do our own kind of hunting on our own. That's how guys roll.
Yeah. Well, and really online now is really the norm. It's not the exception. This is where you meet people, which is it's a great tool, and it can also be devastating. And again,
Yes.
talking from the woman's perspective and
Yes,
the
yes.
rejection that you experience, etc. And just this evolution of all these dating sites now that make it quicker and quicker and quicker. Just to
Right.
reject somebody based on looks, etc. How does that affect a man? How do
Well,
men deal with
I
that?
would recommend for the a guy over 50, probably if they want to get busy right away, so they're going to say, "Hey, Tinder sounds exciting because it's hooking up." And I would say no, go something more traditional and take your time and meet somebody, craft a good profile. Don't put up photos of yourself with your shirt off. Don't say anything negative. And, be somebody, imagine yourself on the other side of the computer and say, who am I? What am I? And what do I have to offer? And be open-minded. And, there's a lot of great women out there, and they're looking to meet good guys. There's the whole bad boy thing and all of that. And, I don't think women in their 50s are looking for the bad boy. Women in their 40s, I don't think, are looking for the bad boy. I don't know if even women in their 30s are looking for the bad boy. So that stuff, if you're in your 20s and all, and you're getting notches on your belt and everything, that's one way to be. But being a solid citizen, a good guy, somebody who's reliable, who's a gentleman, who respects older people, respects kids, respects animals, people who work in restaurants, it's not that hard. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
Be a gentleman, be respectful, and help self-confidence. Be comfortable in your own skin. Get over yourself and get out there. And don't take it personally if you get rejected. It's better if it's fast. Okay, you got rejected. And by the way, women ghost men too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No, it does.
not as often.
It does work both. Well, one thing I want to reinforce with what you said, the don't do profile pictures shirtless.
Right.
That was like an immediate turn off for me.
Right.
And my friends. I did not answer you. I don't want to see you naked. I'm sorry. I
Right,
haven't
right.
even met you yet. So yeah.
Right.
And
Exactly.
and then when you do go out on a date, like my thing was always I wanted to get to texting and talking right away because I wanted to see how you wrote, if you can put a
Right.
sentence together, and
Right.
and then what kind of connection do we have, and then of course meet face to face, because that's the only way that you can really address. And so to your other point that you said, how you treat others when you're out on a date is extremely important.
It's
I
pretty
think
easy.
too.
Just don't be a jerk. I, like you, had a little bit of a, equation. I believed in a quick correspondence. You open-end question, respond to their profile if you're going to write to a woman. Respond to something in the profile, ask a question, and then get to exchange, offer your number, and maybe she'll give you hers, and then meet for a coffee or a drink or whatever, and keep it short, and that's it. And then take it from there. If you're having a great date, well, go out for appetizers or something like that. But have a little romance, have a little mystery. Dating's become so businesslike that it's the fun. I thought dating is supposed to be a fun sport. If you can make it fun, you're going to be very successful out there.
Let me do a follow-up question also, because especially our audience may not know what Tinder is. Like I don't exactly. I mean, I know it's a dating site, but that Tinder wasn't around when 7 years ago. At least I don't think it was. Like I did Match, and I don't know if they're still around. Chemistry, and which was a little bit more involved. It wasn't a quick. Like, what is Tinder, and why is
Well,
that
I'm
bad
not an
for
expert on it, but it's more immediacy. I believe it finds people who are in the same locale as you are, and then
Okay.
you can correspond with them, or not, and they basically swipe one way or the other
Okay.
if they're interested or
That's
not.
the
So
Tinder. Yeah.
everything's very immediacy. It's very primal, which is okay. One thing we skipped over is I always tried 2 points here. One is I always believed in a phone call also, a quick phone call, because there's an exchange of energy the first time you hear somebody's voice. And it could be a positive and it could be a negative. And then you go on that first date. However, when you set these paradigms up, it's dating. Let's have a little fun. So when I met my wife, I said, let's have a phone call. And she goes, nah, we don't need a phone call. And I'm like, you sure? She goes, no, let's just meet. And I said, but I have these rules to myself. And I'm like, well, I made the rules up. I'm going to break them. And so don't be too strict with yourself. Be open-minded. Make it an adventure. So,
You said something to me off camera that that men, what women should know about men, especially at this age, is that they're dealing with a lot of self-esteem issues and changing of who they are. Talk to me about that again.
well, if you're turning the corner into 50, you're going to have, like anybody else, you're going to have issues with your body and you're going to have issues with your health, things that you have to start taking better care of. You're going to have issues with your career because there's going to be this fear factor depending on what type of business you're in. Because if you lose your job, then you're probably making some pretty good coin. And then, like, how am I going to get another job? And then how many people am I supporting or being the provider for? And so there's a lot of stuff to keep track of. And so guys have to be, they're spinning plates and juggling. I'm sorry for this. New York City, if you can hear.
Hey,
there's
this is New York.
Yeah, I'm sorry. An
No
ambulance
problem.
just went by. So.
No problem. I was just going to say, I love
There's
it.
a lot. Guys have a lot on their plate, and a lot of it is attached to their ego and their self, the definition of who they are. And that's why it's important that they make the move. They start to make the shift away from defining themselves based on their job title, and their bank account, and more about who they are and what they've been as a human being and what they can offer somebody, whether it's companionship or some special skills they may have in any area, and what is their zest for life. I know a lot of guys my age, and they're like shutting down. They're like, okay, retired, and that's it. I'm like, I don't say this to them, but I'm like, I'm getting warmed up here because I got a second thing going and it's going great and I'm really excited about it. And I have a 6-year-old and I take super good care of myself, diet wise, wellness wise, because I believe that longevity is the next hot area. And people are going to start to, especially with the big boomer population, they're going to start to wake up and say, you know what, how do we keep going and keep going in a way that really feels good? Yeah. And a lot of people, it's too late for some of them. It's never too late, but for a lot of them, they're getting a really late start.
Well, sometimes it's good. Yeah. No, I love that. That's a huge part of our platform, is taking charge of your, not just emotional, but physical, sexual health, all that. And I'd love to bring you back, in another segment where we focus on that. I think that would be wonderful. We are, again, at the end, this goes by so fast. Any last words of what you'd like women to know about men that we might not?
Everybody, a lot of guys say that they're real simple, but guys they're not that simple. They have layers, and it's a matter of getting inside so you can understand what they're all about and their layers. And I think the honest truth is that men are sensitive. And sometimes they're too sensitive about themselves and not that sensitive about others. So guys need some help, I think. But there are a lot of good guys in there with good intentions and good hearts, but sometimes they need a little bit of help, and women are the ones who can help them.
Well, on that then, Robert, we thank you so much, and we will see you next time on our second act with Paige and Soka. Bye.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us. If you haven't already done so, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. Button's right over here. Just click right on through to YouTube. And when you see that little bell next to the subscribe button, hit that too. You'll be notified every time a new video is released. See you next time.